The Galactic Empire was known for its power. They had a fleet of warships that could crush entire civilizations with ease. The Empire's reach spanned across hundreds of star systems, and every ship that entered their territory was tracked and catalogued. The Empire was in control. Nothing could threaten them, nothing except a strange, mysterious arrival. It all started one quiet morning in the Empire's central command. The radar systems, designed to scan and track every vessel in the galaxy, suddenly pinged. It was nothing unusual at first, another ship moving through the region. But then, something caught the attention of the fleet officers. The ship was moving fast, too fast. The usual protocols should have made it easy to catch and track, but this ship was different. It wasn't on any of their records. There were no data logs, no histories, no previous sightings. The Empire's records showed no sign of its existence. At first, the officers dismissed it as a glitch, a malfunction in the tracking system. But then the ship's speed became undeniable. The vessel moved through space at a speed that should have been impossible, faster than any known ship could travel. It darted through the stars, shifting its position with such precision that even the Empire's most advanced ships couldn't catch it. The fleet's commander, Admiral Lorne, stood over the display table, his face filled with confusion. He tapped the table, trying to pull up more data, but nothing came up. The ship had no ID, no name, no history. It was as though it had appeared out of nowhere. A ghost in the galaxy. Where did it come from? Lorne muttered to himself. His officers exchanged uncertain glances, unable to offer an answer. They had seen all sorts of ships, military vessels, civilian transports, merchant freighters. But this was something else. The design of the ship was unlike anything they had seen before. It had no markings, no flags, no distinguishing features. Just a sleek, dark silhouette cutting through the stars. "Admiral," one of the younger officers spoke up nervously. "The ship, it's not even slowing down. We should intercept it before it crosses into more heavily guarded zones." Lorne rubbed his chin. He knew how dangerous the situation could be. Any unknown ship entering the Empire's controlled zones could be a threat. The Empire could not afford to take chances. "Alert the fleet, send a message to the Emperor's High Command. We need to know what we're dealing with before this ship enters Imperial space." Within moments, the command center was buzzing with activity. Officers scrambled to prepare for the worst, relaying the information to every corner of the Empire. The ship was still out there, moving fast, but no one knew where it came from or who was aboard. The only thing that was certain was that it was not supposed to be there. The unknown vessel continued its course through space, oblivious to the Empire's growing panic. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was faced with a situation it couldn't control. The Emperor's personal fleet was dispatched, ready to intercept and neutralize the mysterious ship. But there was a sense of unease that filled the air. Could this really be a threat? Or was it something far worse? Something even the Empire wasn't ready for? The unknown ship moved through the stars, faster than the Empire's technology could track as the galaxy held its breath. The first part of the mystery was just beginning to unfold. The Imperial fleet moved swiftly across the galaxy, determined to capture the mysterious ship. Admiral Lorne's orders were clear: intercept the vessel, identify the threat, and neutralize it. The fleet's elite warships, equipped with advanced sensors and weapons, were the best the Empire had to offer. They were more than capable of dealing with any opposition, or so they thought. But as they approached the coordinates where the unidentified ship had been last detected, something strange began to happen. The ship appeared again on their scanners, but this time it was moving even faster. It zipped through the stars with a grace and speed that the Empire's finest warships couldn't match. The ships of the Empire, powerful and deadly as they were, struggled to close the gap. "How is this possible?" one of the fleet's engineers whispered in disbelief as he watched the ship's sudden bursts of speed. It wasn't just fast, it was unreal. The unidentified ship was zigzagging through space, taking impossible turns and using maneuvers that no one in the Empire had ever seen before. "Stay on course," Admiral Lorne commanded, his voice steady despite the confusion. "We can catch it. All we need is one good shot." The fleet closed in, firing warning shots and trying to lock their weapons on the fast-moving ship. But no matter what they did, The mysterious ship always seemed to be one step ahead. Its speed increased with every attempt to catch it. The sensors, the most advanced technology in the galaxy, couldn't lock onto it properly. The ship appeared on every scanner as a flicker, a blur, impossible to pin down. This isn't just speed, Lorne realized. It's like it's warping. The space around it, we can't even get a clean read. His officers exchanged nervous glances, their confidence starting to fade. The ship wasn't just moving fast, it was breaking the laws of physics. With each passing moment, the situation became more unsettling. The Empire, which had conquered entire star systems with ease, was now helpless against an unknown force. It was as though the humans had unlocked some secret technology that made their ship untouchable. Lorne stared at the data on the display, his mind racing. How could a species as young as humans have developed something like this? The Empire had never seen anything remotely like it. Even their most advanced warships had been designed to deal with enemy fleets, not a single ship moving at impossible speeds. As the mysterious ship continued to elude them, Lorne ordered a full-scale pursuit. But no matter how many ships they sent, or how many weapons they fired, the ship continued to dance just out of reach. It was as though the ship itself was mocking them, showing the Empire that no amount of power or technology could match the human ingenuity behind it. Meanwhile, aboard the human ship, the crew was calm and collected. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were not just running from the Empire, they were teaching them a lesson. The humans aboard the ship had faced overwhelming odds before, and they had always found a way to survive. But this wasn't just about survival. This was about sending a message to the Empire. Humanity was no longer weak. They were not a race to be ignored. As the pursuit continued, Admiral Lorne realized something that filled him with dread. The human ship wasn't just faster, it was smarter. And that was something the Empire couldn't fight. 2040 Mini. Admiral Lorne's frustration was growing by the minute. Every attempt to catch the mysterious human ship was met with failure. It seemed to defy all the laws of physics, twisting and turning through space with ease. His fleet, the most powerful in the galaxy, was being outmaneuvered by a single human vessel. The situation had gone from confusing to alarming, and now it was clear. The Empire was losing control. He paced back and forth in the command center, the flickering lights of the tactical screens casting shadows across his face. The ship was still out there, moving faster than anything the Empire had ever seen. The fleet was stretched thin, and the Emperor had grown impatient. Lorne knew he had to act fast or the consequences would be dire. "Admiral, we've tried everything," said Commander Tavia, his voice laced with uncertainty. "We've thrown every ship at it, but it's impossible to keep up. This isn't just speed. It's like they know exactly where we'll be before we do." Lorne nodded grimly. "I know. We need a new plan. A strategy they won't see coming." His mind raced as he thought about the human ship. Every move it made seemed deliberate, calculated. It wasn't just trying to escape. It was toying with them, testing the Empire's resolve. But why? What did the humans want? Were they trying to provoke the Empire? Or was there something more at play? "Deploy a decoy," Lorne suddenly declared. "We'll use a few smaller ships as bait to draw them in. Once they think they've outmaneuvered us again, we'll trap them with the main fleet." The officers exchanged glances, unsure. "But the decoys," Commander Tavia started, but Lorne interrupted her. "We have to make them think they're winning. The humans are clever, but they're not invincible. Once we have them cornered, we'll hit them with everything we have." Tavia hesitated, but then nodded. The plan was risky. If the humans were as clever as they seemed, the decoy strategy might backfire. But there was no other choice. The Empire couldn't allow this mysterious human ship to continue defying them. Orders were quickly relayed to the fleet. Small scout ships, faster but less heavily armed than the main fleet, were sent to draw the human vessel into a trap. The fleet would stay hidden, waiting for the right moment to strike. They knew that their only hope of success rested on the element of surprise. Meanwhile, on the human ship, the crew was calm and ready for whatever the Empire threw at them. The captain, a seasoned human officer named Rhea, stood at the helm. watching the fleet's movements on the ship's tactical display. She had been briefed on the Empire's actions, and she wasn't surprised by the traps they had set. "We need to keep them guessing," Rhea said to her crew. "As long as we stay unpredictable, they won't catch us. We don't just have speed. We have the power of adaptation." The crew members nodded, understanding the captain's words. They had trained for this moment. They weren't just here to outrun the Empire. They were here to prove that humanity was more than capable of standing up to the might of the Galactic Empire. As the human ship continued its evasive maneuvers, the Empire's fleet closed in, unaware of the trap that awaited them. But Rhea and her crew knew the truth. This battle wasn't about technology or firepower. It was about something far more dangerous: the human ability to adapt and outthink their enemies. And in that, the Empire was no match. Admiral Lorne's frustration was building with each passing moment. The human ship was still evading his fleet, slipping through their grasp no matter how many ships he sent after it. The Empire had never faced anything like this before. Even with their most advanced tracking systems, the human vessel moved faster and more unpredictably than they had thought possible. Lorne stood in the command center, staring at the vast display screen in front of him, where the mysterious ship continued to dance around his fleet like a shadow. He clenched his fists in frustration. The Empire had conquered entire star systems with ease, but now they were being outsmarted by a single human ship. "Admiral," Commander Tavia spoke, breaking the silence. "We've been at this for hours. We need to think of a new approach. This isn't working." Lorne turned to face her, his mind racing for a solution. The situation was critical. The Emperor had demanded results, and failure was not an option. He couldn't afford to let this human ship continue to mock the Empire. But how could they catch it when their best efforts had failed? "You're right," Lorne said, his voice steady but filled with determination. "We need to change our strategy. It's not just about speed. This ship is using something we don't understand. We need to outsmart them." He paced the room, his mind working through the problem. The human ship wasn't just running away. It was fighting back in ways that seemed impossible. It wasn't like anything the Empire had encountered before. It was almost as if the ship was one step ahead, anticipating their moves. The Empire couldn't rely on brute force alone. They needed to think smarter. "Deploy a decoy fleet," Lorne suddenly announced. "We'll use smaller, faster ships to lure them into a trap." Tavia raised an eyebrow. "A decoy? Are you sure that will work?" "We need them to believe they've won. The human ship thrives on deception, and we'll give them exactly what they want. Once they think they've outmaneuvered us, we'll strike." The officers around him looked uncertain, but Lorne's confidence was unwavering. It was a risky plan, but it was the only chance they had. If the humans were as clever as they seemed, they would fall for the trap. Once the human ship was lured into range, the full force of the Empire's fleet would be ready to destroy it. Orders were quickly issued, and the decoy fleet was deployed. A handful of smaller, less powerful ships were sent to engage the human vessel, while the main fleet held back, hidden behind asteroid fields and debris. The idea was simple: make the human ship think it had outsmarted them and then close in for the kill. As the decoy ships moved toward the human ship, Lorne couldn't shake the feeling that this battle was not going to be as simple as it seemed. The humans had shown themselves to be resourceful, and Lorne had learned the hard way not to underestimate them. But he had no choice. This was the Empire's best shot. Meanwhile, aboard the human ship, Captain Rhea stood at the command station, watching the Empire's movements on the tactical display. She had expected this. The Empire's fleet was setting a trap, but she and her crew weren't fooled. The humans had been playing this game for years, adapting to threats and outthinking their enemies. "We'll make them think they're winning," Captain Rhea said with a sly smile. "Then we'll turn the tables." The crew responded with nods of agreement. They weren't just running away from the Empire. They were leading them right into a trap of their own. As the decoy fleet closed in on the human ship, both sides prepared for the next move. The chase was far from over, and the true battle had only just begun. The battle between the Empire's fleet and the human ship raged on, but the outcome was becoming clearer with every passing minute. The Empire's forces, once confident in their superiority, now found themselves struggling to keep up. The mysterious, human vessel, small but fast and unpredictable, darted through the battlefield with ease, leaving the Imperial ships in disarray. The Empire's finest warships, equipped with the most advanced weaponry and shields, couldn't seem to land a blow on the human ship. It was as though the humans knew exactly how to stay one step ahead. Admiral Lorne clenched his fists, his frustration growing. The decoy plan had failed, and now the human ship was breaking through his defenses. It was clear that the humans had something the Empire didn't understand, something they couldn't fight with brute force alone. And as the human ship continued to evade his fleet, Lorne began to realize that the battle was about more than just survival. The humans weren't just fighting to win. They were fighting for something far more important. They're not just running, Lorne muttered to himself as he stared at the tactical display. They're sending a message. The thought made his blood run cold. What message could a small human ship possibly send to the Empire? And why was it so important that they were willing to risk everything? At that moment, a message came through on the Empire's communications network. It wasn't from any of their ships. Instead, it was a direct transmission from the human vessel itself. The voice on the other end was calm, almost casual, but it carried a weight of authority that made Lorne's heart race. "This is Captain Rhea of the human vessel. We've been tracking the Empire for some time now," the voice echoed through the command center. "And now you finally noticed us." Lorne's eyes widened. The humans had been tracking them. How was that possible? They were just supposed to be a small, unimportant species. How had they managed to get so far, undetected, into the heart of the Empire's domain? Captain Rhea continued, her voice carrying a hint of challenge. "You see, Admiral, we didn't come here to run or hide. We came here to show you the truth. The Empire's control over the galaxy isn't as absolute as you think. It's built on fear, lies, and manipulation. And we, humans, are here to expose that." Lorne's mind raced. He had heard whispers of unrest among the galaxy's less powerful civilizations, but he had never imagined it would come to this. The humans weren't just attacking, they were exposing the cracks in the Empire's armor. They were revealing that the Empire's strength was built on a foundation of lies. The human captain's next words struck like a blow. "The galaxy deserves better than an empire that rules through fear. The truth is, you've been manipulating your people for far too long. The humans are here to free them. We are here to end your reign." Lorne's face turned pale as the weight of her words sank in. Was it true? Had the Empire really built its power on lies? Were the people it controlled truly just pawns in a game of galactic domination? The more he thought about it, the more uncertain he became. Could the Empire's decades of control be coming to an end, not through force, but through truth? Captain Rhea's voice was now sharp and filled with determination. "The Empire doesn't get to decide who lives and who dies. It's time for the galaxy to wake up." As the transmission ended, Lorne stood there in stunned silence. The human ship had not just challenged the Empire, they had shaken its very foundation. The battle had gone far beyond a mere clash of ships. The humans had revealed something far more dangerous, the truth about the Empire's rule. And now, Lorne was left wondering if this was the beginning of the end for the Empire. The revelation hung heavily in the air, and for the first time in a long while the Admiral wasn't sure what would happen next. The humans had set the stage, and the Empire was on the verge of a reckoning. The tension in the Empire's command center was palpable. Admiral Lorne had watched in stunned silence as the human ship had outmaneuvered his best fleet, leaving them in complete disarray. Now he knew it was time for the final confrontation. He couldn't afford any more mistakes. The human ship had proven itself to be a formidable opponent, but the Empire's military might was vast, and Lorne had a plan. This time, there would be no escaping. The Empire's fleet had regrouped and the decoy ships had been recalled. Lorne's voice was steady as he issued his orders. "All ships prepare for battle. We will take them down now. No more games." No more surprises. The fleet's warships lined up, each one armed with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. The human vessel was fast and unpredictable, but the Empire had sheer numbers on their side. This time they would overwhelm it. On the human ship, Captain Rhea remained calm. She knew the Empire was planning something big. She had seen the way the fleet had reorganized. The time for running was over. Now, it was time to face the Empire head-on. "Get ready," Rhea told her crew. "They'll come at us with everything. They have. We need to be faster, smarter, and more unpredictable than ever." As the battle began, the human ship danced around the Empire's warships, evading their weapons with ease. Every time the Empire thought they had it cornered, the human vessel would slip away, leaving a trail of frustrated fleet commanders behind. The Empire's ships fired relentlessly, but the human ship was always one step ahead, moving with a speed and grace that seemed impossible. "Target their engines," Lorne ordered, his voice firm. "If we can disable their speed, they won't be able to escape." But once again, the human ship defied expectations. It seemed to anticipate their every move, shifting its position just before the Empire's shots could land. Every missile, every laser, missed by a fraction of a second. It was as if the human captain could see the future. "You can't catch me," Captain Rhea muttered under her breath as she watched the Empire's ships attempt to lock onto her. "You'll never be able to keep up." As the human ship veered and darted, it grew more aggressive. Rhea knew that time was running out. The Empire's fleet was vast, and it was only a matter of time before they overwhelmed her. But she wasn't about to give up. She wasn't about to let them win. She knew the true strength of humanity wasn't in their weapons. It was in their ability to adapt, to think quickly, and to turn the tide in their favor. With a sudden change in tactics, Rhea gave the order to fire. The human ship unleashed a barrage of missiles that caught one of the Imperial warships off guard. The explosions sent shockwaves through the battlefield, leaving the Empire's ship disabled and drifting helplessly. "Direct hit," the weapons officer announced. Lorne stared in disbelief as his ship began to lose control. The humans had struck. The Empire's fleet was now on the defensive. Lorne's mind raced as he realized how close they were to losing. "Regroup," he shouted. "Form a blockade. We can't let them escape again." But the human ship wasn't done yet. Rhea's voice came through the comms once more, calm and steady as ever. "You've underestimated us," she said. "This is just the beginning." The Empire's pride was beginning to crack. For the first time in history, they were facing a threat they couldn't simply crush with sheer force. The human ship had shown them something they hadn't expected: resilience. And as the battle raged on, the Empire began to realize that defeating the humans wouldn't be as easy as they had thought. The first battle had been fought, and the Empire was starting to lose. The battle was no longer just about defeating the human ship. It had become a struggle for control. Admiral Lorne watched helplessly as the human vessel continued to evade his fleet's attacks. His once confident commanders were now beginning to question their strategy. The Empire's best warships, armed with the most advanced technology, had been outmaneuvered by a single human ship. The situation had shifted, and the Empire's iron grip on the galaxy now seemed uncertain. "Admiral, we've lost contact with 2 of our warships," one of the officers reported. "The human ship is too fast. They're systematically disabling our fleet." Lorne's face hardened. He had seen the humans as nothing more than a nuisance at first, an unworthy opponent, to be crushed with ease. But now it was clear. They were something else. The humans weren't just skilled. They were unpredictable. And unpredictability was a weapon the Empire hadn't accounted for. "Reinforce the outer perimeter," Lorne barked. "Form a tighter formation. We can't let them break through again." His orders were quickly passed down, and the fleet began to regroup, forming a tighter blockade around the human ship. But the human vessel wasn't done yet. Captain Rhea had been waiting for this moment. "Steady, everyone," she said calmly, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "The Empire is trying to box us in. We need to make our move now." The crew of the human ship was working like a well-oiled machine. Every decision Rhea made was swift, and the crew responded without hesitation. The Empire's blockade might have seemed like a clever strategy, but Rhea saw it for what it was, a trap that could be turned against them. It wasn't a matter of strength. It was a matter of timing. The human ship's engines roared to life, bursting forward with a speed that caught the Empire's ships off guard. The Imperial fleet, expecting another escape, was now unprepared for the attack. The human vessel darted through the blockade, dodging shots with ease as it unleashed another series of strikes at the Empire's warships. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Rhea ordered. "We're hitting them where it hurts." The human ship fired precisely aimed missiles targeting weak spots on the enemy vessels. One by one, the Empire's warships began to lose power, their shields flickering, and their engines failing. The crew of the human ship had learned the Empire's weaknesses, and now they were exploiting them. Admiral Lorne's face twisted in anger as another Imperial ship exploded in a fiery burst. The human ship had breached their defenses once again, and it seemed unstoppable. The fleet was starting to crumble. "This cannot be happening," Lorne muttered to himself. "How are they doing this?" His thoughts were interrupted by the voice of Commander Tavia, who appeared on the bridge. "Admiral, we've lost communication with several of our commanders. The humans are not only defeating us, they're sowing confusion throughout the fleet." Lorne knew she was right. The Empire's warships were no longer fighting in unison. The humans' hit-and-run tactics were creating chaos, making it impossible for the Empire to maintain control. The fleet's once unified strength was now fractured, and Lorne realized that if they didn't regroup quickly, they would lose this battle, and possibly the war. The human ship continued its relentless assault, each strike driving the Empire closer to defeat. The Empire's confidence had turned to desperation. They had underestimated the humans, and now they were paying the price. Lorne was left with only one option. He had to make a difficult choice, either pull back and save what remained of his fleet or risk everything and continue the fight. He stared at the chaos unfolding before him, knowing that whatever decision he made would change the fate of the galaxy forever. "Withdraw," Lorne ordered at last, his voice grim. "We're not prepared for this. Regroup at the outer perimeter and call for reinforcements." The retreat was ordered, but the damage had already been done. The humans had proven that they were not just a nuisance, they were a force to be reckoned with. As the Imperial fleet began to retreat, Admiral Lorne couldn't help but wonder, what would happen next? And, more importantly, what had the humans truly come to the galaxy to do? For the first time, the Empire was on the defensive, and the humans were in control. The Empire's fleet was in disarray as it retreated into the vastness of space. "Admiral," Lorne's decision to pull back had been a bitter one, but it was the only choice left. The human ship, with its speed and precision, had done what no one had expected. It had outsmarted the mighty Empire. But as the Imperial ships moved further from the battlefield, the reality of their situation began to sink in. The Empire was no longer in control of the situation. Captain Rhea of the human ship watched as the Imperial fleet withdrew. For a moment, there was silence aboard the human vessel. The crew had expected this. This was the first step. The humans hadn't come to the Empire's doorstep to destroy them outright. No, this was just the beginning. They were here to expose the truth. "We did it," Lieutenant Miro said, his voice full of relief. But Rhea only nodded, her eyes scanning the battle remnants on the display. "We've only won the first round," she said calmly. "The Empire is weakened, but they'll be back. They'll regroup and come at us with more force." Her voice held a quiet certainty. She knew that the Empire was not a force that would just vanish. The humans had struck a blow, but the true war had only just begun. The battle was bigger than just this one ship, bigger than any single conflict. It was about challenging the power that had ruled the galaxy with an iron fist for centuries. As Rhea turned to the communication officer, she gave the order that would mark the next phase of their plan. "Send a message to the galaxy. Let them know what happened here." The officer hesitated for only a moment before sending the transmission out to every corner of the galaxy. It was a message that would resonate with everyone, those who had long been under the Empire's thumb, those who had lived in fear, those who had always wondered if anyone would ever stand up to the Empire. The message was simple but powerful. The Empire has been defeated today not by strength but by ingenuity. Humanity has shown that no force is too great to overcome. This is just the beginning. Join us. Across the galaxy, messages began to trickle in from colonies, distant planets, and star systems that had long suffered under the Empire's rule. The human message stirred something in them. It gave them hope. They had been told for so long that the Empire was invincible, that no one could stand against its might. But the humans had done it. They had shown the galaxy that the Empire was not unbreakable. On a remote planet in the far reaches of the galaxy, a group of rebels gathered. They had received the message, and they knew what it meant. For the first time, they felt like they weren't alone. "Is it possible?" one of the leaders asked, looking at the message on a small screen. "Can we really fight back?" Another leader nodded. "If the humans can do it, we can too." Across the galaxy, something was beginning to shift. The idea of resisting the Empire, once unthinkable to many, was now a reality. The spark had been lit, and now it would spread like wildfire. Meanwhile, Admiral Lorne sat in the command center of his flagship, staring out into the stars. His fleet had retreated, but something gnawed at him. The battle had been lost, but it felt like something far greater had been lost as well. The human ship had shown them something the Empire had long buried, that there was strength in unity and rebellion in hope. And that was a force the Empire had never truly understood. As the Empire licked its wounds and began to regroup, they could not ignore the fact that the human ship had turned the tide. And now, the galaxy was watching. The next move would be crucial. Would the Empire crush this rebellion before it could spread? Or would the humans, and the spark they had ignited, become the force that would change the galaxy forever? The Empire was in turmoil. Admiral Lorne had never imagined a day when the Empire would be forced into retreat, but the events of the past days had shattered that certainty. The human ship, once seen as a mere annoyance, had proven to be a force, capable of shaking the foundations of the Empire itself. Now the fleet was in disarray with morale at an all-time low. Lorne knew that the Empire could not afford to lose again. They needed to strike back, but they also needed a new strategy, one that could deal with the unpredictable power of humanity. Lorne stood in front of the display table in the command center, watching the fleet begin to regroup. The message from Captain Rhea had already spread throughout the galaxy, and the rebels were rallying. The entire galaxy was watching, waiting for the next move. The Empire had always prided itself on its ability to crush any opposition, but the humans had shown them that there were limits to even their might. "We cannot let this continue," Lorne muttered, his hands clenched tightly. "We must strike back with everything we have." But even as he said the words, a part of him questioned whether it was possible. The human ship had made it clear that they could not be stopped by traditional methods. Lorne knew that brute force alone wouldn't win this war. They would need to change their approach, and fast. Across the galaxy, Captain Rhea and her crew were preparing for the next phase of their mission. They had delivered a powerful blow to the Empire, but Rhea knew that the real work was just beginning. The Empire would not let this humiliation go unanswered. The key to their success now lay in uniting the galaxy's oppressed and showing them that the Empire's rule was not unbreakable. "Captain, we've received messages from several planets," Lieutenant Miro reported. "They're ready to join the rebellion. They want to fight." Rhea smiled, but there was no joy in it. She knew that what was coming would be far from easy. The human ship had shown the galaxy that resistance was possible, but it had also drawn the attention of the Empire. The coming battles would test everything they had. "We'll need more than just hope," Rhea replied. "We'll need strategy, unity, and strength. We're not fighting just for ourselves anymore. We're fighting for everyone who has suffered under the Empire's rule." The crew nodded in agreement, fully aware of the stakes. They had started something that could either change the galaxy forever or lead to their destruction. Meanwhile, Admiral Lorne and the Empire's high command were preparing their next move. The Emperor himself had issued a direct command for the fleet to remain vigilant, to take no chances, and to eliminate the threat that the humans posed. There would be no more underestimating them. The Empire's pride had been wounded, and Lorne knew the Emperor would demand vengeance. But deep down, Lorne couldn't shake the feeling that the human ship had exposed something more dangerous than just a weakness in the Empire's military strategy. The humans had done what no one else could. They had forced the Empire to confront its own lies, its own fear, and its own fragility. The war was no longer just a battle for control, it was a battle for truth. And as the two sides prepared for the next confrontation, it was clear that the outcome would shape the future of the galaxy. Would the Empire crush the rebellion and restore its dominance, or would humanity's determination and resilience prove to be the spark that ignited a galaxy-wide uprising? One thing was certain. The battle for the galaxy's soul had only just begun. The stars above seemed quieter than ever as the human ship sailed through the void of space. Its crew gathered around the command center. The battle was far from over, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The Empire had been wounded deeply, and its once unshakable grip on the galaxy was loosening. The message had been sent across the galaxy, from the heart of the Empire to the most distant colonies. Humanity had proven that resistance was not only possible, but inevitable. Captain Rhea stood at the helm of the human ship, watching the endless expanse of space stretch before her. She had seen the courage of her crew, the strength of those who had joined the cause, and the power of unity. The humans had started with nothing more than a single ship and a simple idea, that the Empire could be challenged. Now they had become a symbol of hope to the oppressed across the galaxy. "We've done it, Captain," Lieutenant Miro said, his voice full of awe as he looked at the displays showing the shattered remnants of the Imperial fleet. Rhea nodded, her expression focused. "We've taken the first step. But this war is far from over. The Empire will fight back, and we can't afford to be complacent." Her words were not just a reminder to her crew. They were a reminder to herself. Even after the victories, Rhea knew that the hardest battles lay ahead. The Empire was far from defeated. It would regroup, it would rebuild, and it would return stronger than before. But they had achieved the impossible. They had made the Empire question its own power, its own methods, and its very hold on the galaxy. As the human ship moved forward, the signal for rebellion began to spread. The people of the galaxy, who had long lived in fear of the Empire, were beginning to rise. They had seen the human ship's victory, and they were no longer afraid. They were no longer silent. On a distant planet, a group of rebels gathered, watching the message from Captain Rhea on a small screen. It was a simple message, but it was enough. "The Empire's time is over. We are united, and we will not back down." One of the rebels, a young woman named Kira, stood up and looked around at the group. "It's time. If they can do it, so can we. We can't keep living in fear." The others nodded, their faces filled with determination. They had been waiting for a sign, for a moment when it was clear that they could fight back. The human ship had shown them that moment had arrived. Meanwhile, on the Imperial flagship, Admiral Lorne stood before the Emperor, who was silent as he absorbed the damage done to his forces. The Emperor's eyes were cold, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. His empire had been shaken, and for the first time in a long while he questioned whether his power would hold. "You failed," the Emperor finally spoke, his voice low. "This rebellion cannot continue. We will crush it, and we will restore order." Lorne bowed his head. "Yes, Your Majesty, we will regroup, and we will hunt them down." But even as he said the words, a thought gnawed at him. Could the Empire really stop the tide of rebellion that was rising? Could they put an end to something that had already begun to spread across the galaxy? The Empire's hold was slipping. The rebellion was no longer just a spark, it was a wildfire. And for the first time, it seemed as if the galaxy's future was no longer in the hands of the Empire. It was in the hands of those who dared to fight for something better. Captain Rhea watched the galaxy unfold before her. The war was far from over, but now it was a fight for freedom. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would cost them. The human ship wasn't just a symbol of resistance, it was a signal to every corner of the galaxy that change was coming. And this time the Empire wouldn't be able to stop it.